Hello and welcome back. In this video, we are going to practice observing thought. As we do this, there are going to be a couple of different ways to observe thought, and I would like for you to experiment with this, please. For some people, my instructions will help and observe the thoughts itself or help observe thought as a process. Some of my instructions for other people might create a lot of thinking or create a lot of involvement in thought. If this happens to you, then please revert back to whatever instruction is most helpful. Now, as you continue along your journey and you gain more stability and experience watching and observing thought, then over time, one of the other instructions might resonate with you and you'll be able to observe it in that way. So please keep this in mind and refer back to this video as many times as you wish. But for now, go ahead and take your seat and make yourself comfortable. If you need to pause the video for a moment as you do this, please do so now. So please take a moment and close your eyes if you wish. Or you can have them about half open with a soft downward gaze. And taking a moment to really connect with your anchor. You might take a couple of big, deep, and intentional breaths, just as we do in our other practice sessions. You can let out a sigh if you wish. And after about 3 or 4 deep and intentional breaths, allow your breathing to resume its natural rhythm. Nothing to control here. And take a moment to feel your body resting in space on your cushion, being supported by the floor, which is supported by Mother Earth. And this is a place that we're all practicing from, the ground. You might scan your body for any areas of tension, recognize or notice any emotions you might be carrying today. If you can breathe a little bit of loving kindness into those spaces, you can go ahead and do that. But we're not trying to get rid of anything, push anything away. So if those areas do not easily release, then please bring your awareness back to the breath or your anchor. If you notice any emotions, you might just name the emotion. A little mental note. And then bring your awareness back to the breath. If you notice an emotional state and it triggers a thought, then that is your first opportunity for witnessing a thought. If you find an area in your body that is either tight or painful, you might even also have a thought about that. Oh, there's some pain there. And you can recognize that as a thought also. So taking a moment and remembering how you experience thought. Is it a sort of mental movie that is playing out and you are the star of it? Is it more like a podcast that you are hosting You are the speaker of your internal monologue. Or for you, it might be a little bit more abstract in nature, might be shapes or colors, but just recognizing how thought expresses itself to you is the first step of this practice. Now I'm going to describe the nature of the mind in a way that may create a lot of thinking, and that's no problem. But if you consider the mind as a glass of water, and it is clear, water is clear in nature. And if you were to put a couple of tablespoons of dirt into that water and mix it up, then it would be very difficult to see through the water. It would become very murky. And this is what thoughts do, more or less. So the clear water is always there. That is the mind. It's always present. Your awareness, consciousness is always there. It's clear. It's endless. It is empty in nature, yet it can contain all things. So if you think about the mud or the dirt in the water after it's been agitated, then that is like the thoughts that are in our way. Those are the thoughts that cloud our judgment or our mind. And all you need to do is leave it alone for a little while. Let it rest. And all of that dirt will sink to the bottom. So as you're watching your breath or using your anchor on the breath or the sounds, you're just resting your awareness and seeing what comes in and out of consciousness right now. The time is always now. And when you recognize a thought, you can use the label thought or thinking. And then bring your awareness back to the breath until you notice another thought or thinking process. You're just waiting as you experience the present moment through observing what is happening now. You might take a moment and consider thoughts as waves on the surface of the ocean. All of it is water. Sometimes there are big waves, other times there are small waves. The waves are always moving and changing. Maybe they're gathering power or dissipating. Thoughts are kind of like waves. Down below the surface, especially if you go very deep, it's calm. Still, there is still some movement, but if there's a storm up on top, it's not the same underneath. You can just simply witness what the mind is doing. You might take a moment and notice what kinds of thoughts you're having. Again, this is another experiment with labeling. You might notice a creative thought, a loving thought, a judgmental thought, a criticizing thought, a belief, a memory. So experiment with these labels, but don't do a bunch of mental gymnastics to come up with the kind of thought it is. If it doesn't easily come to the surface the moment you notice it, just back to the breath. A judging thought, for instance, might look like, I'm doing this wrong, or I can't meditate, or this is so hard. I am in pain. All of these are a sort of judgment of experience. And as an example, you might notice this judgment and then experience an arising of an emotion in the body. So if you have a little stability or space and are able to observe the interplay between emotion and thought, do that also. You're just witnessing. You might have a memory thought of something that occurred in the past that causes an arising of good feelings like love or joy or gratitude. Or you might have a thought about your to-do list for the day, and that might create a little bit of anxiety or apprehension. It might trigger a dislike or a fear. Your job is to notice. You might even recognize an emotion arising that triggers a thought. Or you might notice one thought triggers another thought and another. And the next thing you know, you've been on this train of thoughts for a long time. Again, no judgment. This is what your mind has practiced doing your whole life. You just notice, oh, thinking or thought. And then bring your awareness back to the breath or sounds if that is your anchor. You might notice the gradual arising of thought, the middle of thought as it expresses itself, and then the falling away. You might notice this whole process play out in front of you. Or you might notice only one part of it. You might only notice the end of the thought as it disappears when you notice it or recognize it. You might also notice the space between thought. That is what we call the gap. And if you notice this space, I recommend not getting too attached to it because we tend to like the gap. So again, noticing thought as it expresses itself, thinking with that childlike curiosity. It's almost as though a butterfly just fluttered past your eyes. Oh, there's a butterfly. Oh, there's a thought. If you notice a judging thought, or if you notice you have a thought and then notice that you have judged yourself for having that thought, recognize that also has thinking. Again, you might just say thinking or judgmental thinking. For the final minute of this session, we will dedicate the merit by taking time to really offer ourselves some gratitude for practicing today. Thanking yourself for taking the time out of your day, for intentionally directing your awareness to the habitual patterns of your mind. This takes great bravery. It also takes kindness and compassion. So as you practice this, you embody this. You embody kindness and compassion because you're taking care of yourself. So offering for a moment yourself a gentle bow, saying, "Thank you, myself." And then taking a moment to offer all of the benefits that you have accumulated, all of the merit, and generating it outward with a wish to free all beings from suffering so that the whole world can enjoy a happy and peaceful existence. You can say, "May you be happy. May you have peace. May you be free from suffering." You can open your eyes when you're ready, inviting some small movements, maybe in the fingers and toes, before a bigger movement or a stretch, if you like. Thank you for practicing with me today. Recognizing the thinking mind is oftentimes one of the most overlooked aspects of this practice. And I think it's also one of the most important. In the next module, we will be working with loving kindness and compassion. We call these practices metta and tonglen. and I am so excited to share them with you. They are incredibly transformative. So thank you very much for your time and your awareness, attention today. I hope you have enjoyed this module, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.